welcome to Breaktime Conversations, a YouTube channel where I have conversations around education. I have been a teacher all my life, and along my journey, I have met so many interesting and inspiring people. And so I decided to document my conversations with them here so that you too can hear their stories and the amazing work that they do. I'm here today with Sai Sanjeev. She's an experiential learning program creator, and she's a founder at Thicket Tales. She has a history of working in the primary, secondary education industry. She's skilled in storytelling, outdoor education, environmental education, nature education, and educational leadership. Sai, thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Anupama, for inviting me. Very excited to have you.
And you are so young, but you already have so much under your belt. And why don't you tell us more about Thicket Tales? And by the way, I love the name.
Thank you. So Thicket Tales is a experiential, it's basically a project-based learning where children pick the topic and it runs throughout the academic year. So the topic they pick allows them to interact with the landscape, interact with the surrounding they are in, and through which they learn their own curriculum, not learning anything apart. So it's all curriculum integrated. So, but how do they learn? That's where I'm very excited about it, because we do a lot of discussion learning, we do a lot of observation, we do a lot of games, we do a lot of experiments to learn, not just textbook. So it's never like that. So they learn through all these process of games, interaction, discussion, observation, and so the outcome is not necessarily an exam, but more a creative evaluation or a scientific evaluation, which just taps their critical thinking, which taps their imagination, rather just remembering facts kind of thing. So that's where that happens through Thicket Tales. And thanks for the name, even I like it.
That sounds amazing. So you said they pick a topic. So what kind of topics usually?
So because through Thicket Tales, we use nature as a tool for them to learn their curriculum. It's mostly a biologically nature inclined topic where we infuse even physics, chemistry, and end of the day, even maths is integrated. So it's all a place-based topic. So if a school, I primarily work with Bengaluru schools. So if a school has a kere, that means a lake besides their school. So for one of the government schools, we worked on building a wildlife biodiversity map for the kere. So through that, they learned their biology, their own landscape geography, what happens when the rain, when does the rain pour, why does it pour, which latitude, which longitude, and then they mapped it to their own biology through birds. And somehow we ended up integrating even maths. So it depends upon the school. So it's basically that.
That just sounds absolutely brilliant. So this whole thing, like, for example, you spoke about this project on a lake. So is it something that happens every day or once a week or over a few months or over the entire year, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that's very interesting question. Thanks for doing that. So it runs for the entire academic year. So sometimes some school give us a period, like this period of the week is yours, or it's mostly weekend. So if we have the entire academic year, we do two projects. So one, if it is a biological map or something, so that's the layer one. So we go dwell above that deeper as the project two. So our idea is to have a transformational education for the entire year. So it depends upon the school and the management.
Yeah. Wow, it sounds so lovely. So Sai, why don't you tell us what led you to? I mean, again, I'm mentioning you're so young, and that's such an inspiration. So what led you to, start Thicket Tales, and when did you start thinking about being a founder of an organization like this?
So I grew up with nature. So I grew up in a southern part of South India in Tamil Nadu called Rajapalayam. So our school had a small brook besides our classroom. We had paradise flycatchers. And so every time if there was something low in my life, I always had nature mother to back me up. So I wanted this to be brought forward to the next generation. So I started with my couple of friends a bird walk before pandemic, like bird walks, urban wildlife walks, to just sensitize them, to just connect them to the nature around. And so as I was interacting with children, and I behave like a child with a child. So then as I, because it opens up new world for me, as I was interacting, the education system itself had a lot of learning gaps, a lot of socio-emotional development that should be concentrated on. So there were larger gaps. So we slowly evolved to be a completely experiential learning program now. So we just use nature as a tool for the holistic development of a child. So not just connecting to the nature, but then holistic development. So, yeah.
That's lovely. And I think for those of us in Bangalore, that's so important because we hardly see nature around anymore, right? And so how do the schools take to it? Like, so when you approach a school and say, you have this program, and what has been the response so far?
It's been mixed, because this is very new kind of thing, and then to just tell this is very required or essential, like there's no base for me to tell this is what happens. So then I started showing these are the projects that happened, and it has a very impactful, positive response in the results. So few schools are like very interested. Okay, let's go forward, and things like that. So one thing, because I'm working mainly in urban setting, not every school has a resource or has the space to allow children to explore nature or learn from nature. Though Bangalore is a great garden city, great career city, we find gardens everywhere, and you don't need forest to learn about nature. But then we are not in close proximity. Not every school is in close proximity. So we had to choose a school that has somewhere related to a open space, not necessarily a grand nature, but some kind of open space that has become very luxurious. So we are maybe thinking about creating a learning space where we could bring our children to our learning space, where they could learn, do every week. So I think that's a very project that's going to be.
Yeah, that sounds that sounds really, really exciting. Sorry about my cat. Talking about nature, I have animals all around me. Yeah. So going back to Thicket Tales, do you have a team that works with you, or are you doing this all by yourself, or what?
So it's a mix. So my mom is an academician. She has been a science teacher, a biologist, and I have professors, scientists who back me up, who give me necessary resources to design programs, because I design it from scratch. And I have friends who are naturalists who work with different institutions to help me out. So it's am I a one-man army? Probably, but it takes a huge army to build one-man army. So, yeah. But we are looking to expand it, and it can't go further like one-man army.
Great. How old is Thicket Tales? I don't think I asked you that.
Yeah, so we started, so it's like, because we started with a bird walk and all, and it evolved to be a experiential learning program. It started with a pandemic, when I started online science programs, where we used our own kitchen materials to learn science. So 2 years, 2.5 years.
Oh, brilliant. That's so lovely. Sai, it has been such an inspiration listening to you and hearing all that you're up to. And um, can you give us I know you gave us an example of you working with the lake. Can you give us another wonderful example of the work that you're doing?
So so I would so this is one of my favorite examples. So just after the pandemic, we started hosting public events at Cubbon Park. So it was a treasure hunt program. So for every hunt, for every stop, children were gonna decipher. They're gonna find some science fact, not a treasure. So in one of the stops, they had to measure the girth of the tree, and then they had to go around, see if the tree is just a tree. So by a series of games, they found tree is just not a tree, but then habited, so many animals are living. What happens? And so the next step was to measure the girth. So children had just a measuring tape and a thread. So they had discussions, they had fights on which units to use, centimeter or the inch, what is an inch, centimeter, meter, or not. So it was lovely. Then they had calculation and all, and then they decided, okay, this is what happens. Then we were discussing about circumference, radius, and then so out, because it was all gamified, because they had to go to the next step, they just didn't realize they were using the maths techniques that they had learned from the school, and they were like, this is what happens, ma'am. And then they calculated, and then they hyped. And so end of the day, they were so excited because maths spoke to them through trees. So then they went home thinking maths is also cool, no? So every weekend we used to meet in Cubbon Park and learn something. So every day I learned so many things from children. So that would be one of my favorite
Yeah.
recaps.
Yeah, it's so lovely to hear because this my YouTube channel is dedicated to my dad, and he was totally for integrated learning. He would talk about how every subject should be integrated, one into the other, and that's exactly what you're doing. So thank you so much for sharing your stories, Sai, and all the best with everything that you're doing. And hope to interact with you. And I hope that through this conversation, many more schools will hear about you and sign up for your program. And thank you, Sai. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was lovely meeting you.
Lovely meeting you too. And bye for now.
Bye.